steps up and he scores! We're going to Wembley!
Well, it all ends here. Wembley Stadium this Sunday. After a gruelling 60-match season, the League One campaign comes to a close with the O's facing London neighbours Charlton Athletic in the League One playoff final. And only one team will be lifting this trophy on Sunday. And we're very excited to be bringing a very special edition of Orient Live. Let's take a look and see what's coming up. We'll be taking a look at that playoff semi-final tie against Stockport County, including, of course, that dramatic penalty shootout victory up in Edgeley Park. We'll be speaking to Orient skipper Dan Proutley, who's on the hunt for his 6th promotion in his career, as well as an exclusive with the Orient chairman, Nigel Travis. And as always, we've got some very special guests, including 2 Orient greats, one being, of course, Super Kevin Lisby, who played here in that 2014 playoff final, and a man who knows a thing or two about putting on a show in the playoffs as well. It's Matt Lockwood, who'll be with us very shortly. But now, on the west side of Wembley Stadium, I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Orient Live pundits Jabo Abire and Glenn Wilkie. Boys, it's a little bit more glamorous than our E10 studio, but what a stage for football this is.
Yeah, just a bit. I mean, the home of football, days away from a great game, and just so excited.
And just being here, make it feel that little bit more real. The excitement's been building for a while now, but it's nearly here.
It is nearly here. Everyone's getting excited, supporters. I'm sure the players are getting excited and can't wait to get out here on Sunday. But going back to your opening comment, I'd rather be in E10 than in West London, North West London.
Well, it's a big challenge coming up on Sunday. Charlton, of course, the opposition. We've played them a few times already this season with a mixed bag of results, but we've come over a lot of challenges this season. It's going to be spectacular.
Yeah, it definitely will be. I mean, we've played them twice, and there's always been a last-minute goal and stuff. It's been really, really close. But I think the players now we have, the attacking players, the key players are on really good form, and I think they can be the difference come Sunday.
There's been a bit of a break since we were last in action. Hopefully, some of that excitement has maybe simmered down a bit. Maybe it's turning into nerves. It may be within the supporters, but what a spectacular night it was at Stockport.
It was a fantastic night at Stockport. I'm sure the players are handling the sort of break in between games very well. I know they've sort of had a lot of rest and recovery time, been back on the training pitch. But going back to the Stockport game, to come through them 2 games in the manner we did, with injuries we've had, sort of Curry coming in and Brown coming in for the second leg away with limited minutes, to come through that and under a lot of pressure from a very good Stockport team, to get through that and to be here at Wembley on Sunday in a playoff final against a London rival it's just unbelievable for the club, and I'm sure it'll be a great day for the O's.
What's it like as a player to have that high in the semi-finals and then have such a prolonged period to wait for the final? I know they've had a little rest and back working hard in training, but it's on for Richie to just get them fully focused on the one final game.
Yeah, definitely. I think when you've come off the semi-final games, you kind of want to just get into another game as soon as possible. So you have that lull, that build-up. But sometimes switching off away from the football could be a good thing, and then you do your couple of training sessions leading up to the weekend's game. You kind of build that intensity, really ready to go.
They've trained for months now, week in, week out throughout the season. 60 games it's been. There's only so much you can do on the training pitch, I suppose. What's key now for the O's?
I think going back to the training pitch, what you say, we played 60 games. Players are fit. They don't need any fitness training. It's more about recovery. All them players with the knocks or minor injuries, just getting them back to fitness and getting them prepared for Sunday's game. The tactics will be key. As Jabo said, we've played them 3 times. In the league, we've lost to them twice in injury time. We saw what they did at our place when they've come back and beat us 2-1, both goals from corners, but to the back post. Stockport done the same thing in the first leg, and they tried to do it the other week. So I'm sure they would be working on that defensive corners, defensive wide free kicks or long throws. They'll be working on that. They'll be working on how do we attack Charlton? Where is their weakness? How can we expose them? They're the only things they'll be going through, as well as having a good sort of feel-good factor around the training ground and just keep spirits high and getting the players in the best possible mindset coming into Sunday's game.
Yeah.
Well, before we look ahead to Sunday's game, then let's cast our minds back to what were 2 very exciting, very special ties over Stockport County. We went into that second tie away on the Wednesday night level. We weren't level for long though. What a performance it was, and what a start it was from the O's at Edgeley Park.
It was frightening. It was just unbelievable. I mean, the character The free kick there, and Ollie O'Neill coming in and then doing what he did after being out for a little bit was just fantastic, and a good call from Richie.
And Glenn, Charlie Kelman maybe not involved as much on that Wednesday night, but he was crucial in the first leg of the tie. And how important is his work rate? And it transpires through the whole team, doesn't it?
It does, and in the first game at home it wasn't working. That first 25 minutes it wasn't working with the pressing and the other front players getting there. But certainly away at Stockport, he had a quieter game, but Stockport, like I said, a very good side defensively, really big and strong. So and they were at home, they had to go for it. So the game changed. We had our moments, we had our attacking moments later on in the second half where we tried to hit them on the break and possibly could have scored. But it was a great work rate from Kelman and whoever played alongside him or as a front three, whatever moment it was on the pitch. But he's been fantastic this season. He's a big threat. He's a top goal scorer in the league. Charlton will be very, very worried about him. But let's hope they concentrate on him too much and they take the eye off the ball with the other players who are going to be playing in the starting lineup.
And Richie spoke a lot in his pre-match interview about the team that deals with momentum and the shifts in the game would be the one that goes on to win it. There were ebbs and flows in this game. It was hairy at times, it was scary at times, but Orient did really well to cling on at times. But we gave ourselves that chance, didn't we?
Yeah, of course, because there's going to be times, especially in big games, there's going to be times when you're on top and it's going well. There's going to be time when your back's against the wall and it's the team that can deal with both situations very well. And so far this season we've done that exceptionally well. And yet it's down to your leaders on the pitch to keep the temperament wild, the emotions of the day in good control. But we've shown that over the course of the season, and that's why we're here.
And they're of course a very good side. Stockport were. We got to the penalty shootout though, Glenn, and when we got there, we looked very solid. We looked confident. We looked good.
We did look good. I just think that going into that, yeah, people say, oh, penalties are 50-50. I don't agree with that. It's about preparation. It's about mindset more than anything, because you've just played 120 minutes of football. You're going to be tired. You're emotionally drained as well in these games. Every single penalty taker who stepped up looked like they were going to score. I'm so confident going into a penalty competition or penalty shootout that we would score every single penalty. And then we've got Keeley in goal. You know he's going to make a save. You know he potentially could make 2 saves. But the penalty takers, Stockport have got a goalkeeper who's 6'8". He covered almost most of the goal, and he's a big guy, Corey Adai, very good goalkeeper. But every single penalty was whipped in a corner, pace, power. And I'm just so pleased we come through that, and I'm chuffed for everyone involved with the club because it was such a great night.
Well, it certainly set up a very special fixture for this Sunday, and here's a very special first look at the kit that will be donned by the Orient players here on the Wembley pitch with the special text emblazoned across it. So keep your eyes peeled, you might be able to win yourself one of these, but more to that to come later. But now, before we go any further, it's time to hear from the skipper. It's Darren Prattley. Let's hear what he has to say.
Been here 4 years now to win a promotion from League Two and be on the brink of maybe getting into the Championship, getting into a playoff final. It's been a great journey. I've enjoyed it. I've loved being part of the group. You've been around the group and you know the group's one big family. And yeah, we're looking forward to the final. And hopefully we can get over the line because these players deserve it, the staff, the fans, everyone. And yeah, it'd be the icing on the cake if we can get this club into the Championship. My experience, I hopefully can help the boys, mainly keeping them calm. Obviously we had a couple of days away to just take our minds off of it. We went to Portugal, did a bit of training out there, and yeah, that was good. I think you need to take your mind off of it. If you're at home thinking about the game 24/7, it can become overwhelming. So yeah, hopefully my experience can keep them calm and yeah, help them hopefully come out on the right end of the game. You have to prepare yourself as normal. Obviously, we played against Charlton twice this year, so we know what they're like. We watched the game the other day against Wickham, so yeah, we have to treat it as it's not a normal game because obviously it's a chance to get into the next league. But we try and keep things as normal as possible, our preparation, the way we travel, the way we train, and yeah, if we can keep things normal, and then hopefully we go into the game, like I said, not overwhelmed, and we can come out the right end of the result. 7 years ago, I was with Charlton playing in the playoff final against Sunderland at Wembley, and it's a bit ironic to be at the game against Leyton Orient against Charlton this Sunday. So it's two great clubs. It's a bit disappointing too. Both of us can't go up because they're two fantastic clubs with great fans, lovely staff there, just like here. And hopefully it's a good game and the best team win. Biggest game of the season. My fans have been great all season, so to try and pack out Wembley our end, to be singing, be positive, encourage the boys. You see what he'd done against Stockport, home and away. It spurred the boys on, and even I'll go back to the Barnsley game where it was losing 3-1 down, and if it wasn't for the fans, I don't think we come back. So we're going to need them on Sunday to remain positive, get behind us, and then hopefully we can give them what they want and what we want, and that's promotion.
Fantastic stuff from the skipper there, and hey, how special would it be to see Darren Proutley win his 6th promotion against his former club as well? Wouldn't that be nice? But anyway, we've got our first very special guest joining us, and now delighted to be here with Matt Lockwood. Matt, welcome. You've been watching a bit of the O's recently. How impressed have you been with their recent form?
It's been unbelievable, isn't it? I've been really impressed. I mean, I was at the Huddersfield away game, last game of the season, and then I did the second leg of the Stockport game. And just to see their mentality, their drive and determination, even when things aren't going well, they still come back and they just know they've got goals in the team. They're just playing with so much confidence, and obviously winning 6 games on the bounce to even get into the playoffs was unbelievable. They're on such a good run of form, and they're going to come here on Sunday, and hopefully they can just continue that and play with really that positive sort of mindset and come and cause an upset.
Matt, we couldn't have you here in a playoff fixture without looking at this very special goal. Talk us through this one, and I think Jabbo, we were discussing just a second ago. Jabbo, I don't know if he was trying to get a touch on this one or getting out of the way, but Matt, what do you remember of that one?
Well, I've told the story before, but probably about 5 minutes before that goal, I picked the ball up in a very similar position, and I drove forward and I passed, I can't remember who to, and Steve Castle actually said, "Lockie, next time you get the ball, have a shot." He said, if you don't shoot, you don't score. So those words were still ringing in my ear when I sort of picked the ball up on the halfway line, and then when everyone just, they say, ran out the way, it was just sort of too tempting not to let rip and have a go, and obviously I ended up catching it quite sweetly, and it went in, which was nice. And what I quite like about it is the fact that so many Orient fans still remember it, and it means so much to them. I suppose lots of players score better goals than that, but to be on a night like that in the playoff semi-final, then that's the goal to get you through to the final. That's probably what made it more special. But no, I'm really proud of it.
And there was nothing in your mind thinking maybe I'll just slip Jabbo through here, get him through on goal?
No, I've seen Jabbo shoot. So, like I said, we were trying to win the game. So Jabbo would have been the last person I passed to.
Jabbo though, Matt, I mean, it was a fantastic goal. What a team you had back then. Unfortunately, couldn't go the whole distance, but how good was Matt?
Yeah, Matty was unbelievable. A left foot like no other. Could see a pass, and we always knew he could rifle shots. And I think he's done 1 or 2 of those in the season before that strike anyway. So, but yeah, he was fantastic, and he was a leader out there. We sometimes would look to Matt, funny enough, because I think he scored about 10 goals that season or something like that. Yeah. And he was formidable in that year, and he's always been a really good player.
And it's got to be slightly different to the playoff final back then, different setting, bit of a grander setting. How excited would you have been as a player to play here, and how do you think the boys will be feeling ahead of this one here?
I think they'll be confident because they have to be. The run they've been on. I mean, Charlton obviously have been on a fantastic run as well. So it's 2 informed teams are coming to play. But I think the Orient lads will come here. I think when we played, we would come hoping to win, but probably expecting that it maybe not go to plan. But I just get the sense that the whole team now and the club in general, the mood's changed, the mindset's changed, and I think they're going to come here and expect to win. And I think they can definitely do it. And I think the Orient fans are now starting to believe because they've seen it. They've seen them do it time and time again. And to win as many games as they have in League One, and such a strong League One as well. They're brilliant, and I think they've got some really, really fantastic players.
Matt, here's a question for you. So you've seen the O's a few times this season. Early on in the season, we really possession-based team, kept the ball, kept it for long periods of time, tried to break teams down. Later on in the season, as like you say, we've won them 6 games, got through the playoffs. We've had to defend a lot and hit teams on the break. Coming into the final on Sunday, what would be your preference on how we set up? Do we try and have that possession-based football and try and break them down, or sit back, soak up the pressure, and then go and try and hit players on the break with our forward three that we've got? What would be your option?
Yeah, I probably think the second option there. I think Charlton will probably have more possession than Orient, maybe, but the fact that Orient have got pace and quality going forward. When the likes of Jamie Donnelly gets it, you can see as soon as he gets it. Danajai and Charlie Kelman, they make runs because they know that his first look is to get his head up and look for those forward passes. And even from further back, when Ethan Galbraith gets it, he's the same. He's got that quality ball forward, which forwards want. As soon as a defender can play as a striker, you're going to make those runs because you're going to get fouled. I mean, you look at Liverpool, whenever Trent Alexander gets it, the forwards make runs because they know he's going to find them. And I think with the quality that Orient have got in certain places in the team, they know then that they can do it. And I think the gaps will open up if Charlton are attacking, then they can hit them on the counter. Because that happened on Wednesday at Stockport, didn't it?
Yeah.
The amount of times that Stockport did have the majority of possession, but Orient looked so dangerous going forward.
And just looking back to that Blackpool final as well, you spoke about the mood and maybe the energy changing at Leyton Orient a little bit, and a lot of it is down to, of course, Richie Wellens. I believe he featured in that final. What do you remember of him in that game?
He was a great player. He was a really good midfielder, good on the ball, very strong. He sort of reminded me a little bit like Paul Gascoigne, like where he'd get his arms up and hold people off. Yeah, not that good, but
just his arms.
Yeah, just his arms. Right. Yeah. Apart from that, no other similarity. But he was really, really good on the ball. And again, we sort of went into that game. I don't know how you felt, but we knew Blackpool were a really good team, and we probably felt that the best team won. But we had a great start, didn't we? We scored after 30 seconds. Tatey, the legend, managed to take advantage of the goalkeeper slipping over, and we were unlucky. And I think, from my perspective, for that game, from a personal level, that was when I actually split my head open at the end of that season, and I hadn't played for sort of, I think, 6 weeks, so I wasn't fit. And I remember I was getting cramp in the game because obviously I was always pretty fit, wasn't I? And I could get up and down a lot, but I started to get cramp in the game. So we sort of went in with, again, a few injuries, like you've spoken about with the Orient boys this year. Because even on Wednesday, wasn't it, when a couple of them were getting cramp towards the end of the game. Obviously, Curry had to come off, didn't he, with it? I mean, to be fair, the one just saying about Jack Curry, when in the second half he was signalling to come off because he had cramp, and then they broke down the left-hand side, and he sprinted about 40 yards and then made a tackle, and I was like, how is he going to get up from that? But that's the mentality they've got, where they just don't want to get beaten, and they're going to throw their bodies on the line. And I think everyone's going to need to do that on Sunday to win.
And I'm sure they're going to dig deep, that's for sure. And well, Matt, thank you so much for joining us. Before we let you go, though, hopefully we can go one better on Sunday. What's your message to the Orient fans ahead of this one?
Just to the fans, just come and just support the team as you've been doing all year. The Orient fans are brilliant. I mean, I came down to the Man City game, and they don't change. They're just so great, and they love the players, and they just want, they're desperate for some success. And from the players' perspective, they don't need to do anything different. They just need to do exactly what they've been doing for the last 9-10 months, and I think they can cause an upset.
Well, Matt, thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully we'll be seeing you in the celebration somewhere on Sunday. But now it's time for an exclusive chat with our chairman. It's Mr. Nigel Travis.
So, Nigel, the playoff final to come on Sunday. First of all, just how excited are you?
Well, I'm very excited. I've been to the UK 4 times in 3 weeks. So a 5th visit I'm looking forward to. I'm delighted my wife will be coming this time. And I'm hoping that we have about 40,000 people supporting the O's. So I'm extremely excited. And I've been excited for the past 3 or 4 weeks. And every game's been a challenge. We've met that challenge. So my excitement has been met by Richie and the team. So I'm expecting the same again on Sunday.
I can see that you're kitted out in your Som kit already. Just on the playoff games, and the Huddersfield game as well, you've seen lots of different sides of this Orient team of late, whether that be winning comfortably at Huddersfield, whether that be really defending for our lives at Stockport. Just how much pride does it give you watching this team, I suppose?
Well, well, a lot of pride, but I'd also say, and perhaps many fans don't see this, I know the players reasonably well, and we've got some terrific people. I mean, you want good people to win, and we've got good people in amongst our players, plus our coaching staff. I'm always joking with Alan McCormick about his ears and the ear bashing he gets from Richie's communications. I don't know where Richie will be on Sunday, but I'm very proud because good people deserve to do well, and they're good people.
So in terms of Leyton Orient, what's your plan for the remainder of the week? When will you last speak to Richie, do you think, before the big game?
I think I'm talking to Richie today, but I'll probably talk to him one other time later this week. Richie and I have fantastic conversations, and so everyone knows, my intention is to make sure Richie stays with the club for a long time because he's been a major reason for our success. So we do that. My plan for the week is to come over on the daytime flight on Saturday, and I'll get there about 6:40. I think I'll land, go out for dinner with some family, and then early on Sunday, try and go to the stadium on public transport and be there for the game. And I think it's going to be a great event. We went, as you know, in the Football League Trophy days, which was before your time, George, but it was terrific. We lost, and our record at Wembley in recent years hasn't been that good. So we're intending to turn it around. And a lot of people will say, well, what do you think about going up to the Championship? We've got our plans. We've got a budget for both divisions. We've got another meeting later in the week to sort of nail that down. And one of the things I'm concerned about is losing time because the players return to pre-season training on June 24th, which is only around the corner. So we need to be prepared. So everything I'm doing this weekend is making sure we're ready for what comes next, which is next season.
You mentioned the record at Wembley. So it's 11 years ago we contested this playoff final. There were then 3 really, really dark years, which concluded with you taking over the club. So when you took over in 2017, did you envisage being back at this stage so soon?
No. And I think I've said a few times, maybe in interviews, that in that first year in the National League, we played places like Guiseley. Kent went there, I didn't. But never did I think we'd be playing people at Huddersfield, who at the time were in the Premier League. And when I started this year, I looked at the league and I thought how difficult it was going to be. We had really strong teams coming up from League Two, and Stockport, Wrexham, someone else I can't remember. And then we had the people coming down like Birmingham, Huddersfield, Rotherham. And at the start of the year, I thought it'd probably be Birmingham, Wrexham, Stockport, Rotherham, Huddersfield at the top of the table. So I didn't expect us to be up there. And we set a goal to finish, so everyone knows, something like 8th or 9th, which would mean progress on the previous year. So going right back to the start, never expected we'd be right up there. Never expected we'd be playing with some of the teams. But the thing I think is impressive about what we've done, we worked hard on the culture. We work hard every day. And the philosophy has been that every person in the club and all the fans, they all count. This is a total team effort. So it's not just the players, it's not just the coaches, it's everyone. And one of the great pleasures I had last week was having a drink with with fans before the game at Stockport. That was fun. And the jungle drums were so loud that I got to the stadium and people seemed to know about it. But, it's important that we see it that way. I'm hoping that the Leyton Orient crowd gets really big for Sunday, and they're the fans who can support us as we move Stadium down the road, as we take Leyton Orient forward, hopefully into the Championship. So we have to think all the time it's one team.
And just very lastly then, and you began to touch on it there, so what is your message to all of those Orient fans who will be heading down Wembley Way on Sunday?
Yesterday I rewatched the replay, which was mostly fans cheering and singing. I think you have your role to play on Sunday. Enjoy the day out and have fun. I've had fun on all these tense games the last few weeks, but please be as loud as you can. Charlton, and you know better than anyone, George, having been there, are going to be very loud. They probably will have slightly more than us because they had 25,000 for their home game the other day. So we've got to be even louder than them. So let's make sure our Orient fans show up, are very proud and mostly very loud, and have a good time.
Top stuff there from Nigel, and of course a special mention for the fans who will be filling out the east side of Wembley just behind us here, so make sure you bring your singing voices for that one. And now from one Orient great to another, we're delighted to be joined now here by Kevin Lisby. Kevin, thanks for joining us. I'm not going to ask you who you want to win on Sunday. I'm not going to, but both of your teams now here at Wembley. What a special occasion it's going to be.
Yeah, it's a great day. I mean, for some it will be. For me, it will be more of a chilled, relaxed day, and just enjoy the fact that two of my clubs have made it to Wembley, and one of them will be going in the Championship, and it's a great day for both clubs, but at least I could say one of them will be in the Championship next year.
Well, we'll let you be our Charlton correspondent for today at least, and I know you've watched a lot of them this season. We know how good a side they are. They've been in a fantastic run of form themselves. What are you expecting? What kind of Charlton side are you expecting to turn up on Sunday?
An aggressive, physical Charlton team, a team that put pressure on you, demand that you play at an intensity. They play with real intensity, and the manager demands that it's high level, it's in your face, and it's brave at times as well, the way they play. They get their wing backs really high and they become wingers, and sometimes they leave the 3v3 at the back, which is really brave, but they like to dominate games and they like to play in opposition halves.
Their playoff semi-finals maybe didn't have quite as much excitement as our two ties, but we're seeing Matty Godden's goal that sealed their trip to Wembley here. What did you make of those two legs? Listen, I think Charlton wanted the game as it was. I think they always knew they were going to get chances, and Matty scores that goal. I think they bring on Anike, I think 10 minutes before that, and then they go 2 up front, and then he plays off Anike. And I think he's more suited to playing off a big man. He can do the one, or he can play with TC and be that striker, the number 9. But as soon as Anike comes on, he thrives off that. It's like playing with a big man, a small man. He gets onto the rebound there, and in the side of the box, he's not going to miss. And they've actually had maybe a bit of a similar trajectory to us in terms of form, and things changed for the mid-season. But what was it for Charlton that maybe clicked or changed that has seen them have a very good run of form to get them here? Yeah, it's not going to be one you're going to hear. I think it was the Orient game. I think it was I know you spoke about earlier about scoring 2 late goals, and I felt that they were struggling before that. They needed that result, and that sort of, I felt, brought the club together. I remember them celebrating. It was like 10-15 minutes after the game. They knew how big of a result that was, and they sort of went on a good run then, and really consistent in what they did. And it's a bit of a sliding doors moment, and speaking to you now, I'm getting flashbacks to 2014, the League One playoff finals. It was a heartbreaking day, and then obviously the 6 years that followed after that were tough, and now we're back here. Just what an incredible story. It's unbelievable. You're talking about getting relegated twice in 2 years, 3 years, and finding ourselves in a conference where we didn't feel like we belonged. Just a bit of mistreatment from the owners that were here previously. Then obviously the chairman's come in there, and there seems to be real life in the club. And every time I go back, there's a real connection between chairman, club, players as well, fans, and the manager. And it's just good to see them back where they belong.
not necessarily Wembley, but with the players they have at the club, the manager they have at the club, and the life that's been put back into the club. It's just nice to see the club back to where they should be.
And maybe not with the O's, but you have seen success in the playoffs with Charlton back in '98. What would your message be to the Orient players and even the Orient fans as we head into this crunch game?
Yeah, one thing I will say about Charlton is these big games, they turn up. They do turn up, and the fans turn up, and the fans demand that the players play with a certain intensity, and they don't lose many playoff games. But listen, it's a one-off game. Orient, I've watched Orient this season, and they seem to turn up on the big games as well. You look at that Stockport game, I would have never had Orient to win that game. And for me, I felt they were the better team in the second game especially. Played a really good team and played them off the park and got the penalty. So I think it's a 50-50. I really do. I wouldn't put any money on any team at this present moment.
I'm laughing because you don't want to choose between the two, and we were talking earlier about both your sons playing football.
Yeah.
It's a bit like FA Cup final, one on each team. It's like, who do you pick? Who do you want to win? You can't choose, can you?
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I'll be totally honest with you, I do have two twin boys, and it would be like both of them playing against each other at Wembley. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
If they were both on two different teams playing against each other on Wembley, I would really be torn in the middle. And despite what anyone thinks, I am torn in the middle. And I know it's going to be a celebration, but the misery of one of these teams losing is going to really be painful, not only for me but also for the fans and the club.
I actually think this is bigger for Orient than it is for Charlton. Charlton can stay down in League One for another year. They'll be all right. They all can come again. But I think for us, it's an excellent opportunity to go up, and it mean more to us.
I've made Kev promises that we won't push him too hard on this subject matter.
I feel like I've been pushed in the corner.
What is interesting though is that Kev says about Charlton turning up for the big occasions, but this Richie Wellens Orient side, he's made a big thing. We're not Little Old Leighton Orient anymore. He's made a thing that we do turn up for these big occasions, and we have done under Richie, haven't we?
Really have, and I think what they've shown in many of these big games is the tactics. He gets it right, and we don't get sucked into the emotion. We play with what Richie's message is. Even sometimes he'll come down and reinforce it. You see him come down to the touchline and start bellowing out his orders again. But we play within that, and I think if we get the tactics right, we have the mentality. We've shown that throughout the season. I think we can really cause them trouble.
Absolutely. Well, Kev, I'll stick to my promise. I won't ask for a prediction, and we'll move swiftly on. And of course, we've got a quick reminder for you. Half term is very quickly approaching. So here is some news for you. It's not long now until our half term camps get started. So make sure you have your youngster booked on to our football courses. The perfect place for them to use up all their energy. Courses are running at Peter May Sports Centre and Writtle College this half term. Full information can be found at leightonorient.com. And who knows? Send them along to one of these, and maybe in a few years' time, they might be turning out for the O's on a similar stage. You never know. Right then, I think it's time to take a look back and reminisce a little bit, because we've done so well to get here, and whatever happened Sunday, it's been a fantastic season. Glenn, what's been your moment of the season?
There's been a few moments this season, but like a few standout moments, and I know you'll probably come on to them, but for me, the penalty shootout on last Wednesday night at Stockport, because everything was happening in that season has sort of culminated in that moment, that 5-10 minutes of them 5 penalties, and I just covered it about how confident, mentally tough we were going into that in front of their supporters, in their stadium, big 6'8" goalkeeper, and to be so calm. We're seeing Galbraith get the winning penalty there, but every single one of the penalty takers was so calm, and they just looked like they was not going to miss. Not going to miss. And I was, like I said, I'm so confident going into that penalty shootout that we're going through. We're going through. And I just thought, for the supporters to get a chance to get to Wembley, the elation from the players on the pitch, you can see these scenes now. They knew what they'd done. They knew them 46, 48 games with the playoff games, what they'd been through, to get to Wembley on Sunday, playing in front of however many thousand people here on national television, to show everyone what they've done and what they're going to do on Sunday to go up into the Championship. I think that moment last Wednesday was the greatest one for me.
How would you have felt stepping up for a penalty in that situation, Jabbo? It was a wall of Stockport fans behind the goal, but we just looked so calm, so composed. And I think that's it's an example of this squad.
Yeah, it really is, and I guess the calmness they showed, they probably did some sort of mental rehearsal of it. I know it's really hard to reenact a penalty shootout at the training ground, but they just looked so measured, so in pure focus, and everyone just seemed so like it was just natural. No one, they weren't nerves. They were walking up calmly and slotting it away. So if I was probably in there, probably hopefully felt the same thing. Hopefully slotted the goal away.
Hopefully it doesn't come to it, but of course, if it's needed, penalties on Sunday. But I feel confident coming off the back of that.
I'll take penalties because Charlton only score against us with corners, so we'll win it easy, won't we?
That's confident talk. Moving on then, Jabbo, you picked out your special moment, and it wasn't in the league, but this was a special moment, and it felt almost like a catalyst for the season, didn't it?
I really did. I felt it was a turning point in the season for sure. The game against Man City in the FA Cup, I just felt the atmosphere was incredible. I haven't seen Brisbane Road like bopping like that for ages, and I think at that moment in that game, everyone really believed. I think the players began to believe in that this season could be truly special, and the fans alongside that, became then echoed. And in the following games after that, I think we played Mansfield in the following game, and it was a great first half. We annihilated them in the first half and threw them out of the box. And in the games after that, we went on a little run. But I felt in that moment, the energy, the enthusiasm, that's what we're going to need on Sunday from the fans. That same energy, I really think it was a turning point in the season.
Pep Guardiola was almost apologising after the game for a smash and grab. He had De Bruyne keeping it in the corner in the 92nd minute. I mean, it's madness, but it shows you this Orient side. It felt as though we can beat anyone.
It did. It was a great day. The fairy tale of the cup. It was an early kick-off, wasn't it? And the supporters were absolutely magnificent that day. Really loud. Obviously, the goals got everyone even more excited, and the noise, and it just drove the players on, give them that little bit extra, to keep going. And yes, Man City had to bring on hundreds of millions of pounds worth of players to sort of get back in the game and get through, but the supporters have been like that again against Barnsley. When we played them, we come from behind at home. We need the supporters like that from the first minute before, and even in the warm-up here on Sunday. And I'm sure they will be, because it's not just a day out of Wembley. This is a big occasion. This is to put the O's back in the Championship, second tier of football like we've not been for 40 plus years. So I'm sure they're going to have a great day, because we're going to win. But they're going to be noisy, and that's going to help the players all the way through the game.
I've picked one out as well. My special moment, it's got to be that home game against Barnsley. I think it equalled that Man City game in terms of the energy in the stadium, the comeback. My word, that's when I started to believe how special was this day in E10.
Yeah, well, it was fantastic. Again, it echoed all the characteristics we've been sort of like singing the praises for throughout the season. They just sometimes don't know when they're beat. They keep going, the team spirit, you see the joy. Even look at the celebrations, it means so much to everyone. And I think again at the weekend, that is what was going to need. That's what's going to be needed. That togetherness that we've shown, that relentlessness which we have, and watching all this, we can do it, man. We really can.
I mean, and that was
just want to get out there now.
and it was the result that almost sparked that end of season run that saw us get into the playoffs. And we are on a roll. This is an amazing opportunity, and only one game of football now between us and the Championship.
We're looking back at these great memories. All of that means nothing now. Means absolutely nothing now. It's a one-off game Sunday. Whoever wins the game goes up. That's it. It's about us being prepared, which I know we will be, being disciplined at times, because it depends on the crowd, the noise, how the game's ebbing or flowing. We need to be disciplined and stick to the game plan. Be able to defend well from set pieces, because we know what Charlton are like, but also show our personality on the pitch and what we can do, and go and play at times and attack and get lots of shots. And I just think it's going to be such a great day, capped off with promotion.
We're going to have to enjoy it Sunday. Yep. We'll have to enjoy it by being disciplined. But the fans, what a day it's going to be, and how excited are you, Javo?
Yeah, I'm excited for everyone. Wembley, the home of football. The season we've had from where we started to, you never would have foreseen us going into like the playoff final, and now we're here and we deserve it. I mean, it's just going to be a great day and a massive day in the history of Leyton Orient Football Club.
Well, that is all we have time for today. A massive thank you to Glenn Wilkie, Jabbo Abiri, and of course our special guest Matt Lockwood and Super Kevin Lisby. It's been a fantastic season, and there's one more game to go, one more football between the O's and the Championship. Make sure you join us for that one on Sunday and enjoy it every second. Up the O's.
Steps up and